Hi there, coach and Hoka One One athlete Sage Canaday here with our first episode of Training Talk Tuesdays. Thank you so much to all of you that submitted questions. We got a great number of questions. I'm going with the top voted one about shoe rotation. This question comes in from Joseph. I'd appreciate a talk on how and when to increase shoe rotation. I'm currently just running in everything on my Clifton 6s, Hoka One One shoe, Clifton 6, and I'm not sure what type of shoe I should buy for what to expand on things. And so it's the idea of that you might have slightly different pairs of shoes as you put more miles or kilometers on them, because they do wear out eventually, but also how they stress or don't stress your feet, your arches, your muscles and your legs, and trying to absorb the impact force of your training, especially on a hard uniform surface like pavement or tarmac. And you know, there's an interesting thing, and obviously, full disclaimer, I am sponsored by Hoka One One, the shoe brand, have been for 8 years now. So I'm only going to talk specifically about Hoka shoes, and it's a good thing he runs in the Clifton 6, which is a Hoka shoe. But I will say across all brands and all spectrums, and I've been sponsored by a couple other brands in my career. I've also worked in run specialty shoe stores, selling all sorts of people, hundreds of people, different pairs of shoes and different brands. You have a lot of differences between the yearly model. What does that mean? Well, Hoka came out with the Clifton 1, for example, which I wore at the Boston Marathon when I ran really well there. But over the years that changed. So the next year it's the Clifton 2, right? And that was a different fit. It was quite a bit more narrow. It felt a lot different. And so with each year or each new iteration of shoe models, even if it's called the same thing, and this is across all brands again, you could get a lot of different design differences, and it could affect the width, the fit of how your toes interact in the shoe. It could affect what size you wear in that specific model. It could affect the ground feel, how much traction or rubber material you're getting on the bottom. Also, the main thing is this midsole material, the combination usually of some sort of foam. We will get into the carbon fiber plate technology, but that changes between models, and that could really change how you feel when you're running. It could cause certain muscles in your legs to get more sore or not get sore. It could make it feel like you're more up on your forefoot or your toes, or your heel striking more, or your strides more smooth. And truth be told, there's a lot of individual variation with that there. And so to answer your question concisely, I don't have the full answer for you, but I can talk in my experience of fitting people for shoes, training people, and running in the Clifton series from Hoka, that you're in a neutral cushioned type of category. Now, there's been different categories of shoes, and people have kind of changed that attitude towards these categories over time. I've done actually previous talks on it that I'll link to in the description below. Shoe type for your foot type of deal, but it's not black and white, because everyone is a bit different. Everyone has form, different running form characteristics that might change over time. We're different heights, we have different stride lengths, we're running at different speeds. I will say on a uniform surface like pavement or tarmac, that's a high impact force. These road shoes are designed to help cushion that blunt force, right? It's an artificially hard surface. You want some technology usually between your foot and that surface. But if your form changes over time, or you start running more miles or more kilometers each week, that could change the dynamics of what shoe is going to be perfect and ideal for you. And I can't tell you that without looking at your feet, examining you in person, watching you run or walk barefoot, but also run in different pairs of shoes, looking at that arch, looking at the shape of your foot. Fitting your foot in the shoe is a very important art to fitting shoes. So I can't say 100%, oh, you'd do great in the Hoka Bondi, you'd be great rotating in another shoe. Generally, if people like a shoe like the Hoka One One Clifton, they're probably going to like something like the new Mach 4. Now, this used to be kind of considered in a different category. It was more of a stability category type of shoe from the Clifton. But like I said, it's not black and white. It's really a spectrum of gray. So those lines have kind of blurred over time, and it doesn't really matter if you pronate a little bit, that's the rotation of your foot inwards on impact, or you pronate a lot. You might need a little bit more support on the inside edge of the shoe, a different type of firmer foam is what we say, but not necessarily, And a lot of people that are comfortable in the Clifton probably would be comfortable in the new Mach 4. I wouldn't have said that if it was like the original Mach from Hoka, which I think was actually quite a different design. But to end this talk, you know, I think it's good to have a quiver of shoes, so to speak, to rotate through. It helps preserve the longevity of the shoe because you're not always compressing the same foam every run every day, especially when I'm ramping up mileage and I'm running twice a day on pavement sometimes. It's good to have a morning shoe and then an evening shoe, and realize I do have that luxury of being sponsored by a shoe company like Hoka One, and you know, getting all these variety and pairs of shoes. I realize that's a big luxury and not something that all of you might have necessarily, but I change up quite a bit between these shoes on a day-to-day basis, sometimes based on how I feel. So for example, this is the Mach 4. It's more like the Clifton 6. It would be a great one to rotate into. The Bondi would be another one that would be a big neutral cushion category. But you could also go more what we call minimal, super lightweight, maybe for your speed day if you're doing a tempo run or a track workout, or even running on like a grass turf field or a treadmill, softer surface. Maybe you want something like the Rihi. This is a really, really flexible, lightweight shoe from Hoka, right? Look at the bend there. So it's a totally different dynamic, totally different feel compared to something like the Rocket X here. This is in my opinion, the fastest carbon fiber plated shoe that Hoka has, because that carbon fiber plate is pretty stiff, but it's nice and lightweight as well. The fit's just totally different though. It's a lot more of a narrow last, and it's going to be a different dynamic depending on your form. So, you know, truth be told, I can't give you the #1 recommendation. You need this shoe, this shoe, and this shoe. I think it's good to have at least a couple different pairs of shoes that you're rotating into, just like it's a good idea to have a couple different road run or trail run routes where you could get on some softer surfaces every time. And again, I realize those of you that live in a big city, maybe you're always running the same paved loop or something like that. But it's good to mix up the surfaces. It's good to stress your feet in different ways and to try to dial into your natural running form in different ways, but to ultimately avoid injury, avoid pain from that overuse, from that impact force, from too much torque with the feet. And again, you could check out those other videos I've done on fitting your shoe into different categories of shoes, and that's within the Hoka brand, but also in general, going to a run specialty store, having someone examine your feet, having someone look at your form, keeping in mind your running history, the mileage you're hitting, the speeds you're hitting on your runs, and how that will change your form and how you feel when you run. So thank you so much for that question. Again, thank you to all those that commented on this week's Training Talk Tuesday. But for next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to answer your top voted question that we see down in the comments below for on this video. So those of you that want to comment, put in your comments, vote, and the top voted one will be the one that I answer next week in these Training Talk Tuesday videos. Again, thanks so much to title sponsor Hoka One, keeping the dream alive for my own running career, but also thank you to all those that support our coaching business. Coach Sandy and I run at higherrunning.com. We sell training plans for any surface, any distance. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.